discuss. What I'll do is I'll do this in video next week.
Okay, so I'd like to let you know that right now audio is recording. Whenever you're ready, please go ahead.
Okay. Hold on, before we do that, give me 1 second, and I think I may be able to do.
Please go ahead.
All right, here we go, guys. Now, the reason why we're having these groups is because I realise that I have a lot more to share with folks. I have tried to be a hermit proper and stop being so active in shows and what have you, interviews and all of this. So, but I realise that I'm enjoying tormenting the shills and the ones who are heavily indoctrinated. I just get a kick out of it. I don't want truth to be squashed anymore by the liars. And since I know the truths that I know, rather than enjoy my life and just, you know, be a nice little happy hermit, I'm just going to spend my time making products like this and teaching people the true science. What we're going to learn here forevermore is the holy and sacred science of geocentrism, okay? Heliocentrism is what I call demon worship. I'm sure you're familiar with that in the last couple of weeks because I've been using it a lot. And I've been explaining what we need to understand by this. And essentially, demons in all the scriptures, you can get a cross-section, across the board sort of understanding of this word, because there's a lot of, every word has many meanings, like the word person, for instance, okay? So that's a very complicated word. In legalese it means one thing, and in English it means something else. So what is a demon? Well, a demon is anything that's service to self. Pretty simple. And their teachings are contrary to the Christian nature of the universe, the Christ-like nature, crystals, light. And theirs is darkness. And so they teach false doctrines. They know how to do this. They've done it many, many times in history. They know that the worst thing they can teach people is to stick them on a globe. Okay? And then from that comes gravity and evolution, a la Darwin, and the Hegelian dialectic, and all kinds of materialist philosophies, which is the foolishness of the world, really. It's stupidity. And so, since I've added geocentrism to syncretism and a few other things I've been studying, apart from, you know, little stints in jail here and there, I do put my head in books and further my own understandings and do a lot of research. So now that I've got all the pieces together, more and more so, I feel more inspired to want to torment. I like to use that word because they do get tormented. I notice that these globeheads, when they see me having fun teaching the truth about the geocentric nature of our cosmos, they get irritated and call names and go on the attack. They will defend this buffoonery and indoctrination that they've had to the death. It's like a religion, and it is, and it's like the global warmers and all of these types. They're all heavily indoctrinated, guys. Bless you folks on this call that have opened their hearts and minds to this wonderful information. Hats off to you. And this is the reason why I'm going to do the most deepest and most sacred of sciences with this group. So you're privileged. You're very, very privileged. And I know you appreciate that. And I want you to know that, because I'm not just going to be doing all of this good stuff on any radio show. Because I find that a lot of the DJs that interview me, the hosts, they're nowhere near where they're professing to be. You can tell by their questions. You can tell by their demeanour. You can just tell. I'm not stupid. I've got great intuition, you know, being Aries with a Leo ascendant and Pisces moon. All of those add up to intuition to the max. And it's never failed me. And what results from that is that I do poor quality interviews because I feel like I have to defend myself against the mentality, not only their mentality, but the mentality of their audience. So I feel cornered. Whereas here I feel free because I know that you're fully open in mind and heart. So what I'm going to do today is an audio version of next week's video version, okay? And I'm going to have graphics and everything. So, oh, we lost someone. Who else is still on here?
We lost Summer.
Okay. All right, well, she can hop on any time. It's easy to do. So what we're going to do is I'm going to explain how astrology works with the geocentric Earth. Most astrologers, or most people who know very little about astrology, will tell you, well, they understand it from a geocentric point of view, heliocentric point of view, at least they think they do. So what they believe, and what they've been led to believe, is that the influences predominantly come from the stars. So Aries is a star group. You find that star group in the sky, and you are told that the influences of those stars reach through into this, onto the Earth, and, well, cause all the various different influences. So Aries has fire, Taurus has earth influence, so the nature changes drastically from hot and fiery to cold and dry. And this is what's going on along all the waves and ecliptics in the universe. So what we need to understand is where the influence, the predominant influence of astrology comes from. Does it come from the stars, or does it come from the sun's ecliptic? This is the question we need to understand, because if it comes from the stars, then they precess, and they precess 30 degrees every 2,000 odd years. So we were in the age of Pisces for 2,000 years. Now we believe that we are in the age of Aquarius through precession. So there's a slippage differential. What's happening is the stars out there are actually slipping away. So that's a sidereal system. That's what sidereal means. It's the stars. And so a Vedic astrologer will tell you that you are Piscean when in fact you are Aryan. Now in the West we have a tropical system, which means that the constellations are actually on the ecliptic, on the wave. So where the wave begins on March the 21st every year, there will be Aries for 30 degrees and 30 days. And then on the 21st of April, Taurus begins. And the date and the sun on the ecliptic tells you what sign the sun is in. So the stars, it appears to me anyway, that the stars are the constellations in the stars are a secondary force. So the Jyotish Eastern astrologers who use this sidereal system are having success to a degree, mostly in the psychic world and phenomena, because I believe that the sidereal star system, star-based system, does not penetrate as deep as the physical tropical system. And you do get Jyotish people saying that Western astrology is physical and Eastern astrology is spiritual. And to a degree they are telling the truth. Not absolutely, but there is truth in this. Why not absolutely? Well, because the tropical system penetrates into the level of the Earth, which is very, very deep, and the physical, but it carries with it all of the above worlds, all of the above influences, the spiritual, the emotional, all of the psychic, and the mental, and the soul. And so tropical is the complete system. Undoubtedly, it is the complete system. Now, have we got everyone still on?
I'm here.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? 'Cause my phone cut off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll continue.
Can you guys hear me? Am I here or am I not? Okay,
Yes,
okay, go ahead, continue.
Great. So I want to read from Thomas H. Burgoyne, and he explains how it is that we receive these influences. So this is going to establish how we are to understand astrology, because many people have asked this question and posed this question: how can it be that all of that syncretism and astrology stands up with the geocentric model? Well, it can be, because as I've always shown, it's the ecliptic that determines all things, that governs all things in relation to astrology. So this is what he says in his book, The Light of Egypt, on the Science of the Soul and the Stars, Thomas H. Burgoyne. This is volume 2. I would really recommend you get this. You can get this book on Amazon for about $20. And it is the most beautiful book dealing with nature and understanding nature and putting things together syncretically. There is another one that he has, of course, volume 1, which is probably one of the most influential books I've ever read. And so The Light of Egypt, The Science of the Soul and the Stars, is the name of the book. Now, in the first chapter, chapter 1, the zodiac, this is what he says. Now, I can't stress how important this is. I'm really excited to be able to share this. I also have it in PDF, this particular quote. So if you ever want to use it to help people to understand why tropical rules, the tropical system, geocentric, is absolutely 100% the true system, and all other systems will bow down to this. So he says, after discussing the fact that astrologers, especially tropical astrologers, get ridiculed because of precession, and often the naysayers will say, well, this shows that astrology just can't work because those constellations are no longer in their place, and so it can't possibly work. Whereas this is what a little knowledge can do. A little knowledge can be very, very dangerous. So when you have a complete knowledge, then you understand how the system works. So after addressing that question and laughing it off, he explains exactly how it is that astrology works. And so he says, the shining zodiac, with its myriad constellations and its perfect galaxy of starry systems, derives its subtle influence, as impregnated astrologically upon the human constitution, from the solar center of the solar system, not from the stars. So do you get that?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very crucial point there. It does not derive its subtle influence as impressed astrologically upon the stars, which occupy the 12 mansions of space. I think I better read that again, excuse me. The shining zodiac, with its myriad constellations and its perfect galaxy of starry systems, derives its subtle influence as impressed astrologically upon the human constitution from the solar center of our solar system, not from the stars which occupy the 12 mansions of space. So let's understand that. So your sidereal astrologer, he will tell you that that Aries now begins in somewhere around March the 1st, I think, whereas the tropical system tells you that Aries always begins on the equinox on March the 21st. It never moves. It never moves, and it will never move. And so he goes on to say, Aries, the fiery, and Pisces, the watery, are always there. And instead of its being an argument against astrology, it is one of its grandest truths that in all ages and in all times, Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, has ever been found ever the same, equally as Pisces, the last. So in other words, he's saying they've never moved. They're always there on the ecliptic. In order to convey our meaning, let us digress for a moment and bring forth a fitting illustration. The condition of our atmosphere and the surrounding objects, vegetation, etc., have a peculiar condition and a magnetism wholly their own when surveyed exactly at sunrise. There is a freshness, a peculiar sense of buoyancy not visible at any other time. If this state could be registered by any instrument and compared with any other set periods during the day, it would offer a remarkable contrast. 2 hours later, there is a very different influence, and at noon there is a wonderful contrast. The same may be said of sunset, and again at midnight. And lastly, note the difference 2 hours before dawn. This is the coolest period of the whole 24 hours. These are facts, and yet our hearts are all beating to the same life flow, and the earth is no farther away from the parent sun, and yet it is the angle at which we, the inhabitants, receive this sun's light that makes all the difference between dawn and sunset, noon and midnight. So do you get the point there, guys? The point, I'm going to continue reading on, but just want to stop on this point. The point is that it's the angle of sunlight on the ecliptic. So basically Aries would be equilibrium. It has a peculiar angle. Okay, so depending where you are, what latitude on what you are on the planet. So the next day, on the 22nd of March, there's another further advancement of its angle in respect to the equinox. So every day, the 3rd of March, it increases an angle. The 23rd of March, then the 24th of March, my birthday, then the 25th of March, then the 26th of March, and each day its angle increases, and its angle goes out of balance to the equinox. Now think about it. If we lived on a globe, the days would not get shorter and longer. They would always be the same. If the sun were 93 million miles away and we lived on a globe. So this shortening of the day by a few minutes just because the sun grows, the lengthening of the days from March the 21st to March the 22nd, this can only happen on a flat earth. It can only happen when the sun is contracting, and therefore the nights are getting longer as it gets higher at the Tropic of Cancer, and it can only happen in such a way. The days can never increase and decrease on a globe Earth. If you look at the models, you'll understand this. So let's continue on. So we just learned that it's the angle. We learned two things that are vital, very vital to our astrological progress and understanding. That the sun is the center of the subtle astrological influences on the Earth, and the ecliptic, the sun on the ecliptic. So you know that Mars the 21st every year introduces the Aryan energy on the ecliptic, regardless of the slippage of the stars behind the ecliptic. And the other thing is that we've learned so far is that it's the angle, the incidence of the angle of the sun that is producing all of the effects. Now, next week, because I don't have video, and it's not video recorded,
it does give me an option, Santos, to turn on video. Right now,
mine's on.
That I'm on my laptop.
Well, Summer.
Mine's on. Can you see me?
Well, we can see you. I just wanted.
I cannot see you. I don't know if that's just delay, but I don't want to keep us up from that. So just. Oh wow. Okay, I can see everybody now. Okay, continue.
Good.
Yeah, we can see you, Santos.
Okay, so I'll just do this now before I continue reading, guys, because you're already familiar with some of the graphics I've done on this subject, but this is what I'm going to do next week when it's actually recorded. So there's the geocentric Earth disk there, and the Tropic of Cancer is down here. Tropic of Capricorn is down up there. Sorry, it's the other way around. And this will be the equator. And so what we have is an analemma going like this. Okay? if you can see that.
Mhm.
And there is March the 21st, always, on the analemma. And so as it grows, there's March the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, all the way to, let's stop here at April 15. No, let's go to April 21st over here. All of that is Aries. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, all of that is Aries,
Yeah.
guys. Okay, so this is why Aries is such a loved sign, because it starts the year at equilibrium. And then you can see how it is growing here and climbing up to the Tropic of Cancer. Now, you'll remember that the circles the Sun makes at Capricorn are very big, and then as it goes to the Tropic of Cancer, they get smaller and smaller, right? So this is compression. That is compression that's going on. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So at the Tropic of Cancer, this, at the Tropic of Capricorn, this vortex is very, very wide, and the sun compresses as it goes up to the Tropic of Cancer. And Aries is always here at this particular part of the vortex. It's always there. And you can see that the energy is good because it's compressing. This is a good creative energy. Compression creates summer, and expansion creates winter. The two polarities of this beautiful coil. Okay, so that's what we're going to base all this on. So Thomas H. Burgoyne goes on to explain how that angle. So if you envision that angle that I've just depicted there on my graphic on the analemma, and as you listen to this, you will understand now what he's trying to say. Okay? So he goes on to say, when to these facts it is further added that it is sunrise, noon, sunset, and midnight at the same instant, all the time, some of the various different portions of the globe. Of course, he was a globalist here, guys. So the only downfall of all of his work is that he did not know back then. Well, he should have, because there was a flat Earth debate back then in 1892. Unfortunately, this guy was a globalist, so we'll have to overlook that. It demonstrates most conclusively that the Earth itself is enveloped, so to say, in a complete circle of conditions, very similar to the 12 signs of the celestial zodiac. So the Earth is enveloped in 12 conditions, and they are the conditions of the ecliptic. If we apply the foregoing illustration to the 12 signs of the zodiac, we shall see someone needs to do them.
Sorry.
That's all right. If we apply the foregoing illustration to the 12 signs of the zodiac, we shall see a perfect analogy. We shall find that when the sun reaches the celestial equator, so that it is equal day and equal night on the earth, that he is on the line of the celestial horizon, it is cosmic sunrise. Hence Aries, the fiery Azoth, begins his activity, his active influx, and it extends for 30 degrees, equal to 2 hours of the natural day. So basically what he's saying is that when March the 21st comes, the equinox, every year there begins Aries. The influence of Aries begins there every year because of the degree of the angle of the sunlight. But now you guys, we are much more advantaged than this guy writing. He was a globalist, right? So he didn't understand this compression of the coil of the sun, this apex that the sun is in. He didn't understand how it was that the sun at the equator is actually at the middle of this coil. So we are so advantaged. Reading this now makes a lot more sense to me than it ever did when I was a heliocentrist. Much more.
Yes.
Yep. So he goes on then. It is the fiery red streams of awakening life that we all manifest at sunrise. Then comes a change of magnetic polarity. After the first fiery flush of cosmic life, the gleeful chattering of the birds and the crackling of the poultry, a reaction is noted, All things therefore active become restful and quiet. This corresponds with the sign of Taurus. So it is with vegetation. So it is with infant life, and so it is with cosmic conditions. So he's saying that in every area this happens, where there is total change in all the areas because of the angle of the sun, not only to animals but to plants and to the cosmos. Again, so hang on. So this corresponds with the sign of Taurus. It is the solar influx 30 degrees removed from this point of equilibrium toward the north. Interesting. From this point of equilibrium toward the north. You can only understand all this really, truly on flat Earth. As this sign represents the powers of absorption, we see that at this period, vegetable and animal life is quietly absorbing for its own use the fiery streams of solar life. Again, we view the activity of the solar influx from a different angle and change of polarity, and all things become active. It is executive force. This corresponds to the sign of Gemini. It is the solar influx 60 degrees removed from this point of equilibrium. So you see what he's saying, that now we're in Gemini. Gemini is 60 degrees removed from the point of equilibrium, which is the equinox. So that 60 degrees, that is what is changing the nature of things on the Earth. It is the solar influx 60 degrees removed from this point of equilibrium. Then comes another change of magnetic polarity. It is rest from labour. It is noon. This corresponds to Cancer. The analogy is perfect. It is the solar influx 90 degrees removed from his point of equilibrium. Well, he's calling the sun him, his point of equilibrium. So what it's saying there is that the sun is balanced on the 21st of March. It's at the point of equilibrium. And so when it reaches Taurus, it's 30 degrees removed from that point. When it reaches Gemini, it's 60 degrees removed from that point. When it reaches Cancer, it's 90 degrees removed from that point of equilibrium. And this is how the science works. So no need to read any further, guys. You can actually read that yourself, or if you want a PDF of that, I can send that over to you, or a copy of that, so you can send it to people who wish to discredit astrology because of the slippage of precession. So clearly, what I've been teaching in my presentations with the sine wave is that those influences exist on the sine wave. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll leave it at that, because I've got to get back into that next week with graphics and everything.
Can I just ask a question there, Santos, quickly?
Yeah. Well, that's what I want to do. Yep, address some questions.
Doesn't the 24-hour day pretty much prove the ecliptic and astrology on the tropical astrology? Since, Aries will always be assigned to 9 o'clock, Cancer to 12. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So doesn't that prove that tropical astrology, of course, with the ecliptic going on the 24-hour day, actually sort of throws out a lot of the other astrologies, I find anyway. You think that's reasonable?
Yeah, look, what you just mentioned about the day and the year is those two cycles mimic each other. For what is summer if not daytime, and what is winter if not nighttime? They're both cold, and they're both darker than the other. It's only they only vary in degrees, right?
Yes.
Exactly. So
that's what I'm saying. It sort of relates to all of that, but the other ones don't relate to the 24-hour day, do they? You know what I'm saying? It's all mixed into the one from the smallest, from the day all through way to the year. You know what I mean? The 12 is always an influence on all of those. But what you mentioned with some of the other astrologies, if they're just encompassing the stars, then they're totally missing the point of the day, the 24-hour, in relations to the year. With astrology? Yep. You agree with that?
Yes. See, because sidereal astrology does not harmonise with the seasons or the 4 quarters of the day. So let me explain what that is all about. It's quite simple to explain. So here's the sine wave that I always use. You've seen this before many times, okay? And of course we have the Tropic of Cancer. That's the equator, isn't it? Right? And that's the Tropic of Capricorn at the bottom. You've seen this many, many times. And this is the wave upon which everything lies. All information, all knowledge is on this wave. So if we divide that into 12 sections, well, let's not do that yet. So if we,
That's cool, man.
so if we work out here that that's the equinox here, and that's the start of the year on March the 21st. So we have March the 21st here, and then we have the solstice of Cancer here, the equinox of Virgo here, and the solstice of Capricorn here. Sorry, I should have said Libra here. Virgo's here, but we want Libra. There. So we've got, let's put them in there, shall we? Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. I hope you can see that.
We do.
Yeah, that's fine, man.
All right, so spring, summer, fall, winter. That's easy to see, isn't it? Spring and summer are hot, vegetation, all summery Tropic of Cancer stuff, okay? Above the equator, so this is all good for the northern hemisphere. Yep, okay. Then the sun must fall, and it does. It falls, and the autumn is the tomb of winter, the autumn. And so you're going down into the wintry tomb. That's the fall of the sun, and then winter is cold. So here you've got your cold polarity, here you've got your hot polarity. Now, the day works the same way. This is obviously daytime, and this is nighttime. So it's obvious. You've got 6 o'clock over here, 12 midday here, 6 o'clock over here, and 12 midday down here. And so you see how the wave produces this everywhere in the universe. Days are produced like this, years, all cycles. All cycles go up to their hot polarity, and then they contract, and then they expand to their winter polarities. So it's contraction, expansion, hot, cold. Okay? And so what you see then is morning is equal to which season?
Spring.
Sorry?
Thank you.
Spring.
Morning.
You got it right. Yep, spring.
So this is morning, yeah, 6 a.m. This is the morning. And so which season does it equal? It equals spring.
Of course.
Of course, morning is spring. The buoyancy. Remember what Thomas Burgoyne just said about Aries and that beautiful, everything is alive, the birds are singing. It's electric. It's very, and then Taurus comes along and everything slows down for between 8 and 10. And so the earthy stuff goes on in Taurus. Everything is calmed. It's a different magnetic polarity.
And you can see that in Taurus energy as well in people.
You can. Yes. This is why your childlike springtime signs, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, these ones are the little children of the zodiac. They're childlike. You know, it doesn't mean that they don't grow to be adults. They're equally as old souls as any of the other signs, and they are equally as adult and mature and sensible. But there's always a tinge of the childlike nature. It comes through because the rays of the sun are fresh in the morning. And it's a little boy. It's a little hero growing and growing to become a true hero to bring us foods. And then to die and be crucified 4 times. And each time it passes a tropical point, it gets crucified and then resurrected again. This is why Easter, the resurrection, happens here. The Passover of the Lamb. And so the afternoon now corresponds with which season?
Summer.
Exactly. The autumn is, the evening corresponds with the autumn.
Autumn, yeah.
And the night corresponds to the cold winter, the cold night. You see, so this is the nature of waves. And so most electricians, they look at the wave and they see it as two things, positive and negative. That's how limited they are. We, on the other hand, who have an expanded consciousness, we see this electrical force divided into 12. And it is. And you do this by breaking it up into 4 at first, at the solstices, 4 polarities, 2 here, spring, summer, autumn, winter, morning, afternoon, evening, night. And then their respective quadrants get divided up into 3 sections. And so you've got 3 different signs in each one. And these 12 harmonizes with the universal 12. The universe is all about 12. It's made of carbon, and the most common isotope is carbon 12. There you go. It's a carbon 12 universe. And it manifests its carbon 12 isotopic structure through the dodecahedron. And scientists know that there's a 12ness about the universe. There's 12 directions. They get energy indicating that it's like the shape of a dodecahedron. I'm not talking about the consensus regular academic scientists. I'm talking about true ones, true scientists who are teaching the truth about this. So that would answer your question then, Eden?
Okay.
Great. Does that answer?
Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Well, I was going to say that it seems like March 21st is the longest day of the year, correct?
No, March 21st is the equal day. 12 hours of... Yeah.
I just was trying to find some significance because in the anatomy of man, up at the top of the head, there's the shape of the lamb within the head, and it's at the top, and it's the first. So I think it would just make sense with tropical being March 21st being so significant in that way.
Okay. All right. Well, look. Here's how it works. This here is the longest day of the year here, right, Chris? And this is the shortest.
Let's see, right? See your board, but what day are you referring to?
June 21st, the Cancer solstice.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So that's the longest day of the year, and then opposite, we just passed it 3 weeks ago, was the 21st of December. That's the shortest day of the year. So you see, what you've got in the wave is you've got long and short. Yeah, so you've, not only is there hot and cold, you've got longer days beaming with heat and shorter days beaming with heat. And this can only happen, this is the funny thing, you know, man, I never picked this up. This can only happen on a flat Earth.
Right. So Santos, that's fully understood. So how does this work down in Australia?
Right. Yeah, isn't it flipped?
It is. It's flipped. But see, now that we know, this is the
It even makes more sense with the flat Earth now, I think, down in Australia. It makes more sense with the flat Earth, totally.
It does, and this is why, guys. Let's have a look at this again then. So there's your flat Earth. There's the Tropic of Cancer, Capricorn. There's the Tropic of Cancer. There's the equator, and you've got the analemma. Right? And so that compression does not happen here in Libra, where we get our spring. So in the southern hemisphere, this is our spring here and our summer here. So, but the effect is opposite, but the condition of the light is always this light here. See, we are getting springtime energy through Libra, and the flowers do blossom down here in the southern hemisphere, but it is still Libra. It's just that we get our spring in Libra. We don't get it in Aries. It's opposite. The effect is opposite, but the energy is beaming down from here. So even though, say for instance, my son, he's Libran, and he was born here in the springtime. Now, the spring is, we know it belongs to Aries, so we got the effect of spring, but we still got this Libran light that the sun is emanating to the whole Earth. So it's still Libra, if you understand what I mean. It's not Aries. So although it's springtime, a lot of astrologers will say, oh, if you're born in September in the southern hemisphere, you're Aries, you're Aryan. Well, you're not now, because you can see that it's got to be Libran, because the sun is expanding as it goes down to here, and it's contracting as it goes up to Cancer. So that expansion...
Sorry, Santos. Even that makes more sense than then just being on a ball where there's sort of like half the Earth, where there's just the top, and then there's the bottom, where on the flat Earth model, you know, everything's sitting in the one spot with the effects going around it. It just makes more sense to me on the flat Earth model.
Yep.
I agree.
Well, for sure. So the point is this: let's try and make it simple so that you can then go on and explain it to other people, because you're going to get this. You'll get some smart people. Like, I was very, very smart when I was a Jehovah's Witness for 30 years, knocking on people's doors and telling them. I remember once, it was in the 80s, when I was really zealous. Oh, boy. And yeah,
I used to let Jehovah's Witnesses into my house, actually, and have a good discussion with them, even though we were both fighting with ignorance, but because I never know anything. I just thought, bring him in and have a bit of a conversation. We were both lashing at each other, but I loved it. I loved them coming in. I never threw away a Jehovah's Witnesses. My friends couldn't understand that, but I thought, you know, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, mate, keep continuing.
No. So what I used to say, we had a watchtower that came out supposedly debunking astrology because of precession, what I discussed at the start. And so I would, being an astronomer and all clever that I was, I would be telling people, see, astrology is demonic and it's all evil and it's out of whack. For instance, I'm supposed to be Aryan, but I'm, you know, if astrology really it works correctly, then I should be Piscean, because the Babylonians have not corrected the sidereal slippage, and so there's differential. There's a discrepancy there. They're not correct anymore, and I believe that, right? So, but looking at this, we know that the vortex. We know the sun's doing like a vortex. So big circles at Capricorn, and then it compresses as it gets up to Cancer, and then it expands as it goes back to Capricorn. And of course, this is called the gateway of men, where souls come in from the Milky Way into the solar system. And this is the gateway of God, the gateway of gods, the Tropic of Capricorn, where souls are ejected from the solar system. That is, souls that have, you know, matured and evolved and that are advanced and have done their good work. Because here Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, and Saturn with his scythe is the symbol of death or resurrection into a higher plane. So, although you're living in the southern hemisphere, on March the 21st, when the sun hits the equator, the rest of those 30 degrees here, that will always be Aries in both the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, because of that compression of that vortex.
Now, Santos,
You see?
that's fully understood. So instead of using the terminology of southern hemisphere, what would be the right word which we actually could use?
Right.
That's a fantastic point.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, I don't know. Someone a while back did come up with something I liked, but I've forgotten it. Southern planisphere?
Mm.
Well, it's not
Don't
really,
answer.
it's not really southern though, because it's really just the outer ring. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
But you need to use those words obviously now because you know a lot of people still have the globe in their mind. It's the only way to be able to explain for now. So
Sure.
Right.
yeah.
Yep. It'll work as long as we we are on our toes when we're explaining things nice and clearly and you know, qualify our terms that we use. So, but you see the point there. So even though the effect of Libra produces an effect of springtime because of the warmth, it's not Aries because expansion is happening here. There's an expansion going on from here downward, or actually from there downward, all the way down, and from here upward there's a compression. So this explains now. This finally only can you understand how the different hemispheres are all governed by one unilateral influence of astrology, and there's not two.
It really does connect everything when you think about it. When you say syncretism, it really does. Because when you say it's contracting and expanding, like the breath, you hear that all the time with the universe. Everything is always about the breath, even with our bodies. It's always about the breath. It's always inhale and exhale. So it really even more syncretizes now and makes so much more sense now that we are on a flat plane.
Yep.
Great point.
Exactly, 100%. Spot on.
So could we call it the outer hemisphere?
Yeah, the outer hemisphere. That's it, brother.
There you go.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
It wasn't actually me. That was the wife.
You beauty.
Beautiful.
Say thank you.
One thing I did want to add on that, that makes kind of sense because you had talked about in previous presentations about how, you know, we fell out of consciousness. We were in the golden age and we left all of the sacred science for us now for when we fell out. And I was thinking, because all of the stories and all of the nursery rhymes and everything that was being told all kind of went towards the northern hemisphere, or the northern, like, where I am. Do you think we did it strategically because we knew that's where the past is going to be in this time? I mean, it kind of makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Ask the last part of that question again, please, Summer, because you broke up.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I was just saying, you know, because we fell out of consciousness, but we knew what was going to happen. It's almost like we saw ahead of time because we knew back then that time doesn't even exist. So we saw ahead and saw what was going to be of us now. So we left all of this divine, sacred information to be told in the northern hemisphere because we knew that's where all the power would be. Because look at the world right now. Everything is being infiltrated and dictated by the United States and the UN, and that's in the northern hemisphere, and that's where everything was told, you know? I don't know, just food for thought, I guess.
Yep. The northern hemisphere is definitely favoured on this plane. It's the let's call it the central hemisphere, the outer and the central. I like that. So the central is definitely favoured. It has much more. It's closer to the North Pole, and obviously there is access to the lower planets at the North Pole. That's what's going on. Antarctica is access probably to worlds that the controllers are not so familiar with, whereas they want to be in the northern hemisphere to be in touch with the ETs below us, possibly. But definitely the inner hemisphere is much more favoured than the outer hemisphere. As for the nursery rhymes and the tales and the gospels that were all composed in the northern hemisphere, because in a better time in the golden ages we wrote down all of these stories to remind us of this science of the wave.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we would lose our touch with our Creator. We would grow dim in our understanding, and so we knew this, and so we encoded all of our beautiful cosmologies and mythologies and gospels. We encoded them with this beautiful, rich writing style, so that we would understand the wave and how nature occurs and follows the wave. And so what this shows is that we actually composed these beautiful writings so that we wouldn't be so one day we would wake up to them and reactivate our consciousness, and it also shows that the northern hemisphere or the inner hemisphere rather has been favoured because most of the doctrines and the cosmologies we have come from the northern inner hemisphere. So it's definitely favoured. There's supposedly the weather is much better, and it's just much more appropriate for humans, and in fact more humans live in the inner hemisphere than the outer.
Now,
by far.
Besides the possibility,
I'm trying to migrate to the central myself.
Besides the possibility that, based on the old Vedic texts, that there are other worlds across Antarctica, would it be feasible to say that they're hiding land even in the huge, vast Pacific Ocean?
Yeah. Everywhere, brother. Everywhere.
Right.
They're very afraid of us discovering more lands, and there obviously are more lands. I've heard reports of expeditions that come back with photographs and material pointing to some beautiful territories beyond the Antarctica, and they've been sequestered and taken and supposedly, well, they just, some of them go missing, some people go missing and get killed for trying to expose what's down there.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's quite scary when you think the control that the controllers have, or think that they have. It's quite scary what game they are playing.
I find that. Sorry, man. Sorry, keep going.
No, you go.
I just find it, as silly as it might sound, I base it on the same thing as the guy. Whatever's behind it is afraid, because why would it doesn't, something that's powerful and maybe is confident in itself wouldn't have such a big army to try and protect it.
That's right. That shows.
It's like the guy that has the car because he's old fella's too small. You know what I mean? It's like that.
Yep.
They need to prove
They're
something.
afraid of us.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think what's behind it is not a very powerful maybe in intellect, but not powerful in certain other ways. And as I said, big armies is what proves that it's scared. It itself is a scared, whatever it be, an entity or, just the concept in itself.
Well, what's really going on? I mean, when you look at the UN logo, for Christ's sakes, I mean, it's a target, and what they're trying to do is that dome effect and keep a target eye on us whenever we do live in an infinite vast plane. So they're trying to keep us limited in this one controlled area, and we don't know how big it really is, and it only makes sense that it is infinite because we are infinite. You know, so it only makes sense. So just trying to keep a cage on our consciousness and on our mental capacity. I mean, they say that we only use a certain percentage of our brain. It's like they're trying to keep a cap on us. So in that transcends in all different levels, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So we just have to kind of connect the dots, like the syncretism is all about, So it's just really about connecting the dots. It's not about all these outlandish theories. It's just about what makes sense, you know, and that's what makes sense, you know.
Yep, you have an excellent point. Anything I have ever seen for myself, knowledge is power. It empowers you, it sets you free, and the truth really does set you free. It's as simple as that.
It's an understanding of the knowledge too. I find because I can read the same book 5 times, and it'd be 5 different books if you know what I'm saying.
Sure. As much as your consciousness,
I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
As much as your consciousness expands, as more you re-understand what you have previously read. It's amazing.
Yes.
It's magical.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
A lot of clues are in the movies as well. I mean, when I say that they're afraid of us, I mean, they really are afraid of us because of our potential, that we don't even know who the hell we are. You know, we think that this is it, and it's totally not it. Like, you speak about this, Santos, all the time. It's like, this is not it. This is like the lowest we've ever been. I mean, we are living and inhabiting super divine creation that we have no idea how to even use. Like, it's just, it blows my mind. It really does.
Yep, exactly. That's a good point. Remember that we still have no idea how powerful we are. And when that happens, the gutless ones, they will be so running for the hills.
Yeah, that's why that they have to tell us, you know, and keep us communicating with all these guns.
Someone needs to mute their mics. Mute your mics, Christopher.
Okay, it's okay. I'm saying, like, this is why they try to keep us in this fear mentality of all of these armies and guns, and it's like, we are the army. Like, these superhuman abilities, like, they stand no chance. It's like some war beyond anything that anyone could ever think of, because we're all used to seeing what's on TV, and it's like, these people have no idea who they are. And it's just like, yeah, that's why it's our mission. This is why we're here, is to wake our people up so they realize who they are. So this is like, it'll just, we all ascend faster and ascend to a higher level of consciousness outside of this, I don't know what to even call this, to be honest.
Santos, good point, Summer. Santos, have you digged a little bit deeper into the whole aspect of Archons?
Yeah. The Archons are the Cosmocrators, brother. There are 7 in number, and they reside in the planets, and they have many Archons under them. But these seven Archons are what confine us in this world. It's not necessarily something evil, but it has evil features about it, and it's simply to to keep us growing. It's abrasion, it's friction, it's a system of growing us. It's the type of law that we must come under for the order of being that we are, the human being. And so Aquarius, and so that's the Piscean, where we are in a way a Piscean being. And whereas Aquarius, the Archons of Aquarius are angels, and the rulers of Capricorn are archangels, and then Sagittarius is the seraphim, and you'll find that there are different orders of beings. But the human being, we have this law to go through, an order of, it's a law of, punishment and recompense type of law. It's the karma that we're working out. It's the way. So it's no use having any hatred or any kind of adversity towards this system. We have to go through it. It's like if a grub's in a cocoon. It's no use. Complaining or stifling its own growth while it's in the cocoon by suggesting to itself that it's confined and it can't move and what have you, and it wants to fly. Well, it must grow in that condition. It has to grow in that law. It has to fulfill that law. We can't break the law in the sense that we can't we can't break out of these conditions. This is a temporal, conditioned existence.
Correct.
That we are part.
So would you reckon that the Archons are spiritual in nature? Are the Archons the true architects of this place, or let's say the system we are under, or is this really truly a natural system?
It is natural in that it is materially natural. It's unnatural from the causal point of view, because it's not truly real. It's not based on absolute truth. It's the truth of appearances. So, who made this world? The Archons, the demigods. But then they can't create unless they create from what's given them from Prime Creator,
right?
Which we can call Jehovah or Krishna.
Right.
And so the source of creation, if we call it Krishna, we can say that Krishna makes this world, but he does not actively make it. Who actively makes it is a demigod called Brahma. And that would be your Jehovah of the Hebrew Scriptures. So, but they all rest on the power of Krishna from the Prime Creator. These are second creator gods, and their creation comes from the material mind, not the spiritual mind. So this is material mind thinking making this world. It's all thought forms from the demiurgos, who is called Brahma. And so we are all Brahmins. That's the high caste of the Hindus. The Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the I forget the third one, and then the Sudras are the bottom caste. So we are at least Brahmins.
Okay, thank you. I think we have a really good point for today. We have right now over 60 minutes of recording.
Good.
Should we call it a wrap for today?
Yeah, that's plenty, man. That's plenty, because I'm going to repeat this again. So you guys got a heads up. I'm going to elaborate much more, but I was reluctant to go in too much detail. Just do a short one for today, warm up for next week, and it will be a day earlier next week, because I had visitors that came yesterday. I couldn't do it, so.
Okay.
But I want to do it on the Thursday, my Thursday, which will be your Wednesday.
Yeah, because a lot of people were confused with the time zones. So when you do announce a next call, just do your time. Don't worry about just be like, okay, it will be my time this day, and then we will all conform to your time, because a lot of people were confused about that.
I know.
Perfect. So I'm actually now going to stop the recording.